we're talking. That was a lot of ums. We're talking Terry Pratchett, The Truth, which I've got here in a look at that book bag. Book bag for the train. I'm such a nerd. But you're watching a video about someone talk about Terry Pratchett on YouTube. So good chance you're a nerd too. Anyway, I got this for like £3, hardback. It had like mould on it a bit horribly, but it was really easy to clean up. £3.50, not bad. Anyway, so another Terry Pratchett, The Truth. So I haven't read a lot of Terry Pratchett. My brother actually was always reading his books. I think got every Discworld book and was a big fan. I never really got into it. I read some of his like children's books, or a young adult. I don't know that. I think they're probably aimed at like maybe 10, 12-year-olds, which is about the age I was when I read it, or maybe a bit younger actually. Called Truckers, Diggers, and the Carpet People. And other than that, I have read very few. So I have read Mort, which I will actually probably be talking about. I read that quite recently. I did it on audiobook because it has like Bill Nighy and Peter Serafinovich doing a lot of the narration, which is just awesome. I'm a big Peter Serafinovich fan. For those of you who aren't from the UK, you probably won't recognise him, but he does the voiceovers for all kinds of adverts and things. He's got an amazingly deep range, and he also did some like very niche like YouTube sitcom. Well, they weren't on, like, I don't think they were made for YouTube, but you can find them on YouTube, called Look Around You, which is a very distinct sense of humour, but it is very funny, and definitely worth your time, at least worth watching for like 10 minutes to see if it's your kind of humour. Anyway, massive sidetrack. So I've read Mort. I listened to Guards a few years ago, and I think I DNF'd it, but it was a different narrator. So I may well. I've actually downloaded it on Audible again. I probably will read it, and I'm sure I'll like it. Now, Discworld is obviously. Pratchett was, I think, like, certainly before Harry Potter, like the best-selling British author. I think indefinitely, not just in fantasy, but just the best-selling British author. I think everyone watching this video would have heard of Discworld, but very quickly, it is a series of a lot of books. I think 70s, 80s kind of number we're talking, that follow that are stories within the Discworld setting, and they follow different characters throughout. And what is quite cool about it is that he's deliberately made it so it doesn't have to be read in chronological order. And actually, he has said, don't read it in chronological order, because he thinks they're two of his worst books. The first book, which is Colour and Magic and The Light's Fantastic, he said don't read them, so I haven't read those yet. I actually talked to my brother about that, and he said I completely disagree with you, and you probably should start with them. But no one else in the world seems to think that. Most people say you start at either Mort or Guards. And this one, so The Truth, the reason I've got it is I'm doing it's not really a 100-book challenge, but it's that kind of thing where I've realised that I just have an enormous amount of books that I haven't actually read yet, that I've own, and I've just never got around to reading them. So I got this on Kindle for 99p, and then because I got it on Kindle, I also bought it from like a second-hand online bookshop as well. And the other thing, so I looked up, can you read this? Should you start reading at The Truth? Because there's a lot of characters that appear. So a lot of like the guards characters, for example, appear in this. But actually, a lot of people seem to be saying online that it was a fine place to start, and it will give you a different perspective. And so I have done that. I'm aware I haven't quite started on it, but it's one of the first books I've read. And I think you could start with it. I think it could be your first book. It was very funny. It wasn't as funny to me as Catch-22, which I've talked about. I don't know if I've uploaded that video yet, but I have talked about it somewhere. But it was like very funny, and the humour I thought was going to be a bit puerile, like a bit maybe puerile's not quite the right word, but a bit basic, like very very dependent on fantasy elements, and not actually that funny in and of itself. All that, like, for want of a better word, sophisticated humor. I'm really glad to say I was just wrong. Like, there are bits that are would like laugh out loud funny. Again, I think I said it on the Catch 22 video, but I don't often laugh out loud reading books. But that seems to be changing, because it seems to be maybe that I'm just not reading the right books. Because this one also made me like chuckle quite a lot. It's a bit long for a Discworld novel, and I know I say this all the time, but you know, I prefer shorter books. So I think it was about 450 pages on Kindle or something, and it did feel like maybe 100 pages too long or 50 pages too long. But the book, it follows a chap called William, who is the son of a very wealthy and uh, nefarious-ish family. You know, the source of their wealth is perhaps a bit contentious, but he seems to be the black sheep of the family. He's sort of broadly like this nice, good guy, who is sort of, I think, going against his family's wishes. In what he's doing in the book, which is setting up the first newspaper based on movable print, and it, like, obviously Discworld is a satire, everyone knows that, and obviously the satire in this is about, well, one, about politicians always lying, and two, about the validity of the press, and how much the public just sort of accept whatever is written in the press must be true. And it comes through so well in the book, so I won't spoil it, but there's like a lot of lines that keep getting repeated that I think are probably just becoming like common parlance now, like probably from this book. But you can see how much people have highlighted them on Kindle and stuff. Like, really funny, really good. And the story is kind of, so it's him setting up the printing press and him trying to build a business out of that in this city where building a business is very hard. And then on top of that, there is this kind of murder mystery about a senior political figure. Something happens to him, and there's a bit of the plot thickens a bit as to what exactly transpired. And you also follow these two kind of criminal, like, they call themselves a firm, but like these two criminals who are very capable and adept criminals, but also like quite funny. And there's a character in this called Otto, who's a vampire, a German. He's a German vampire whose passion is to work with light, as a photographer, but he every time he takes a picture, obviously because he's a vampire, he gets it puts him in agony. That I cannot explain. Like, that joke never got tired. Never got tired on me. It's not even that sophisticated, but it absolutely had me. So overall, would I recommend it? Yes. Would I recommend it as like your first Discworld book? I think yes. Is it the best one I've read? I'm not sure. I think it might be a little bit long. The other thing to say is Terry Pratchett just seems to be a legend as well. Like, I was looking him up on Wikipedia, and his life is so interesting. He's obviously so modest. His humor, like, throughout the books, is clear in kind of everything he does, and he seems to have done a lot of good for society as well, even though he had a pretty bad rap with his diagnosis and what I would consider an early death at, I think, 66. So I would also say he's worth looking up. It's like, even if it's just a Wikipedia page, like, he's a very interesting person who I think, you know, it's not that he hasn't been given a lot of attention by the public, particularly in the UK, but he probably is even more deserving of it than that level of attention would indicate. So hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you for the next one.